First fight, we're picking the first fight on the main card. Jim Crute, I assume that's how you'd say that,
It says, yeah, I don't know.
versus Smile and Sam Alvey. Is this at 205 or 185?
Um, 205, I'm sure, because that's what this guy fought at in his UFC debut.
Okay, so Sam Alvey, the plus 110 underdog. Jim Crute, the minus 130 favorite. I'm picking Sam Alvey based on experience. We've seen he has legitimate power. Obviously, holes in his game. Obviously, not the best fighter, but he has more UFC experience. He's got wins over legitimate names. I'm picking Sam Alvey to win this one.
I have Sam Alvey as well. I'm kind of surprised he's the underdog. Love me some Sam Alvey. Was that the guy that had the fucking like tan?
Yeah.
Yeah, Sam Alvey's awesome. Got Sam Alvey winning this fight. Hope he wins it too.
I have Jim Crute. I mean, the dude's like Australian, so it's got to be like Crute.
Probably.
I think that Sam Alvey is not good at all. His last few wins, his last 3 wins, split decision over John Vellante. That's not impressive. A knockout over Marcin Prancic. I'm not even gonna try anymore. And then a split decision over Rashad Evans late 2017. Those are bad. And then Nate Marquardt in a unanimous decision. Those are bad wins. And then he's lost to Talis Laitis, Ramazan Emeev, and a Nogueira brother in that same time span. I think he's not good. I think that he can knock guys out, and he will knock out Sam Alvey.
So the next fight we're picking on this card, Devonte Smith versus Donghyun Ma, who also might be Donghyun Kim. We're very confused on this topic. But Devonte
Yeah.
Smith, a minus 235 favorite. Donghyun, a plus 195 underdog. I'm kind of laying on the odds a little bit on this one. I do have Devonte Smith. He is a fairly big favorite. And then looking at both of their resumes here, Smith has some TKO wins in his UFC career and before, and 2 of Donghyun's losses are via TKO. So, little MMA math and leaning on the odds a little bit. I have Devonte Smith.
I have Devonte Smith. I feel like he's going to win this fight.
I also have Smith. I think that he's got a long reach. He's 5'8" with a 76-inch reach. I feel like that's pretty long. It's like 6'4".
Mm-hmm.
He's got some long arms. But I think that pretty much like you said, dude has some finishes recently, including in his UFC career. Donghyun Ma, Donghyun Kim, whatever, gets knocked out. So that's how it goes.
The next fight we're picking on this card, Ricky Simon versus Rani Yahya. Let me pull up the odds here. Rani Yahya plus 105 underdog. Ricky Simon the minus 125 favorite. If you look at Rani Yahya's resume, and it's a name that I think most MMA fans would recognize. He's been around a long time, but he's never really got an impressive win. He has a lot of wins. He just never had a very impressive one. And then you look at Ricky Simon's resume. He doesn't exactly have those impressive wins either, but he's a prospect while Rani Yahya is kind of over the hill and on his way down in his career. I'm picking Ricky Simon this one. I think he pulls off. He is the favorite. I think he pulls this off in a relatively unspectacular fight.
These first few fights are
Yeah, they're fucking garbage. This is a pay-per-view, and this is 3 of the fights on your main card. Figure it out, UFC.
it's a terrible.
I will say though, ESPN though has been great.
ESPN's
Those cards
been fantastic.
in general.
Yes.
The card's not good, but I also have. I just looked at it. I also have Ricky Simon in this fight.
Same
My eyes are on the Super
all the reasons already listed.
So now let's get into the real fights on this card. Anderson Silva, a plus 475 underdog to Israel Adesanya, the minus 650 favorite. It's been pretty heavily discussed on the show already, this fight has. Israel Adesanya, kind of the new age Anderson Silva. Silva well past his prime. Israel Adesanya, a legitimate prospect at 185, maybe even past prospect status at this point. He might just be a legitimate contender and future champion at 185. It's a very obvious pick, I think. I think Israel Adesanya definitely beats Anderson Silva. Hopefully this is the last fight in Anderson Silva's career because I think Israel Adesanya finishes him fairly quickly.
I have Israel Adesanya. I don't even think it's close. It's a close fight. I hope he finishes him. I kind of don't give a fuck about Anderson's legacy. He's diminishing himself by continue on his career, even though he should retire. IMO. I think Israel probably finish him in the second round. I would imagine. it's beyond Anderson's years, and this is fucking Israel's time to shine.
I've said this before, and since we've already talked about Anderson as a GOAT and his moments and how Buju says he's overrated, I think that Israel Adesanya right now could beat Anderson at his best. And so I think he obviously beats Anderson now. I have Adesanya, obviously, but what do you guys think?
What did you say? You said
Israel
Adesanya beats Anderson at his best.
Israel right now beats Anderson Silva if this is prime Anderson Silva fighting in this fight. I think that's I think we have to see what Israel does in this fight before I'm comfortable saying that.
I think
He's going to give him too much respect in this fight, to be fair. But go ahead, Brendan.
You think Israel's going to give Anderson too much respect?
Yes.
I think he's a hungry man. We hungry.
I think he's going to end up getting the knockout, or the finish, rather, but he's going to give him too much respect early.
I don't think that's a terrible take. Brendan's too focused on this punt right now. Down to the one. Give your take, Brendan.
I think Anderson loves this fight more than probably possible any other fight at the time. If he sees all the names, he would love this fight because he is a counter striker. He knows he's a counter striker, and Israel is a full-on striker. So I mean, I feel like he goes in overly confident in this fight and probably does lose. I agree that Israel does beat Anderson, which is on Anderson's fault because he's just overly confident. I don't know how to describe it.
And also,
this is definitely Anderson's fight at that time, based on the fact he's a counter striker versus a striker. I think a worse matchup for him is a ground opponent, somebody that can wrestle or has jiu-jitsu or something. But I think Israel does win.
I think, though, that just as much as it is, for one, Israel Adesanya is also a very good counter striker, as we've seen dude's ability to make guys miss is uncanny. But I think more so than just him being better is the fact that he's modeled his game after Anderson Silva. So it's kind of a Dominic Cruz, Cody Garbrandt thing, in my eyes. That he just knows Anderson Silva better than Anderson Silva knows himself.
The thing, my only disagreement with your thing about Israel beats a prime Anderson Silva, prime Anderson Silva had a mystique around him that's gone now. You can't take that into factor now because there is no. It's not the legend of Anderson Silva anymore. This is old past his prime Anderson Silva that we're seeing. Prime Anderson Silva had a legitimate mystique around him. He might have been a person of magic. You know what I'm saying? Pulling off what he did against Chael Sonnen and him going into the Matrix against Forrest Griffin. He was riding that wave for a long time. And even after he got knocked out by Chris Weidman, I think that mystique was still there going into the second Weidman fight until Weidman showed that he was the better fighter again. And then maybe even going into the fights after that, Anderson still had a little bit of the mystique. But it's totally gone now. So it's hard to say what I would think if it was a prime Anderson Silva because I'm not in the same mindset I was when Anderson Silva was in his prime.
Mm-hmm. My only refute is, again, that Dominic Cruz, Cody Garbrandt thing. Because Cody Garbrandt didn't lose up until that Garbrandt fight. Mm-hmm. And he just outclassed who was a monster, TJ Dillashaw. And he goes in and Cody Garbrandt doesn't care about the fact that he's probably fighting one of the greatest, if not the greatest bantamweight of all time. He just does his thing and embarrasses him. So that's why I feel like, because he knows so much about Anderson, I feel like Adesanya would always beat him.
So the main event of this card, we have Robert Whittaker, we have Kelvin Gastelum. Let me pull up the odds. Gastelum is a favorite, the plus 205 underdog, rather, not favorite. Robert Whittaker, the minus 245 favorite. I'm picking the upset in this one. I'm taking Kelvin Gastelum. The only thing that does give me a little bit of pause is Gastelum lost to Chris Weidman in late 2017. That's a little concerning. But the way I look at it, we've seen Robert Whittaker is susceptible to being rocked at least. We saw that against Yoel Romero. Yoel Romero could have finished Robert Whittaker if he had the killer instinct, which we've talked about to great lengths on this show, that Yoel does not have the killer instinct, and that he would have won at least the second fight for sure if he did have that killer instinct. I think Kelvin Gastelum's power is equal to that of Yoel Romero, and he does have the killer instinct. We saw that against Michael Bisping. and Tim Kennedy. Couldn't think of his name. We've seen that Kelvin has the killer instinct that Yoel doesn't have. So if he goes in there and rocks Robert Whittaker like we know he can, and he uses that killer instinct like we know he can, then I think he pulls it off. I don't think it's an obvious win for Kelvin Gastelum, but I do think he finds a way to beat Robert Whittaker.
I have Robert Whittaker in this fight. Just the fact that he's been. How many defenses has he have?
That's a good question. Let me look.
It feels like he has about 3 or more.
I don't know who he won it against because it was a weird situation when he won.
But in saying that, I feel like matchup wise,
I think only one.
He only has one defense because the first Romero fight was for the vacant interim middleweight championship.
Listen, I thought that
Brennan's got a yawn. Get that yawn out, son. Robert Whittaker.
Robert Whittaker. I don't know. I feel like this like a matchup. It's a really good close fight, but I don't know. I just think Robert Whittaker edges it out. He beats Yoel Romero, and I think Yoel is better than Gastelum. So it's almost MMA math, which doesn't work out. It's just a really close fight, so I got Whittaker.
I also have Robert the Reaper Whittaker.
I do think that Whittaker is like the most beatable champion probably there is.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I get that vibe, and I was about to just say, like, I don't feel like Robert Whittaker is super great anywhere, but he's beating guys that are so fantastic.
He hits hard.
He does, but I don't feel like it's something that sets him apart. I don't think his striking sets him apart. I've never really seen him grapple.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of it comes down to his game planning and his ability to negate his opponent's strengths.
Yeah.
I think that
same as Tyron Woodley in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And with that being said, I feel like he's going to be able to game plan well enough because there's a lot of tape on Kelvin Gastelum. I think he can, and he has no problem going 5 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And Kelvin Gastelum's a big boy.
That's fair. That's a good point. Kelvin is a big boy.
Yeah.
So do you guys both think this is a Robert Whittaker decision win?
I think he could finish Kelvin too, honestly. I think that he's able to put those combos together, but I do think it will be a decision for Whittaker.
I agree.
I think Kelvin
But
finishes.
also, I mean, even saying that I think it'll be a decision, Whittaker or Gastelum's coming off a 5-round decision win over Jacare, so I don't know. It's hard to say. I think it's a very close fight, and I'm happy that these guys are not even 30.